Hey there, this is Andrew, and I'm bringing you a Keyforge set review. I'm going to be walking through a house from Winds of Exchange. Why do Winds of Exchange now? Well, two reasons. So, one, this is the collector's set from Winds of Exchange, and I just got the one for Grim Reminders. I've wanted to use the collector set for this purpose, and so it makes sense to just do Winds of Exchange first. And the other thing is Winds of Exchange, I feel like I've actually played enough now. We've been playing it for 8, 9 months, so I actually have played enough now to have a pretty good sense of what's good, what's bad. I had 3 out of my 6 decks in KFL season 22 were Winds of Exchange decks, so definitely been having a good time with Winds of Exchange. Grim Reminders is so new, it doesn't make sense to do one of these videos yet because I would say all kinds of dumb things about the cards. Probably I'll say some dumb things anyway about Winds of Exchange, but at least I won't have an excuse. So, all right, so let's see. This is what the collector set looks like. Somebody was complaining in the Facebook group, I think, about how they come packed and like they don't fit if you stack them like this, which is a little weird. I don't know. What do you want? I think it's fine, but I mean, I kind of get it. But probably the right thing to do actually is to use team bags to just put them back in. It's not a big deal. If you're not using team bags for Keyforge, then go look it up. Okay, so let's see here. Pack number 1. By the way, if you're wondering, here is what the collector set looks like. So here are the cards, and they all have a back like this. So we're doing Brobnar first. I'm going to do them in the order of the packs. I don't know for sure if I'll upload them this way, but this works. All right, so here we go. We're just going to do them in the order that they are packed, and I guess they're in numeric order. Is this okay? Cool. So we're going to do it this way. All right. So the first card we have here is Ancient Battleground, and we're going through rares first. We'll probably try to spend a little more time on this. Remember oh shoot, I should actually remember the process I like to do here and stick to it so you know what to expect. So, okay, a couple things. So first of all, if you don't know the way that Keyforge rarity works, obviously commons show up a lot, uncommons show up less often, rares you'll get a few, and they're more rare. So for that reason, a couple things. First of all, they try to have a lot of freshness in the commons of a set. Rares they swap out less aggressively, so you might see just a much higher percentage of reprints in the rares than you will in the commons, and that's because if man, I just heard that the guys on Sloppy Lab Work were quoting, I think, Mark Rosewater from Magic the Gathering and saying, if it's not in commons, then it's not your theme. So anyway, I think that's good. They really change up the commons for the set. I'm going to move this closer. But the other kind of thing that's going on is that okay. A couple other things I want to do before we start digging into the cards. One is talk about what kinds of things I expect. And I try to think about this from the perspective of if I'm playing sealed and I sit down across from my opponent and they have Brobnar in their deck, what am I thinking I'm probably going to see happen to me? And in Brobnar, if my opponent has Brobnar, I'm expecting them to have a strong creature presence. They're going to be dealing a lot of damage and having a pretty good amount of board control. Brobnar has a lot of ready and fight effects. In this set, in a lot of sets, it's always had a bit of an amber rush feel to it. That's kind of always been part of the Brobnar identity, but they haven't always nailed it. And so, for example, Brobnar and Worlds Collide just kind of didn't work well. In this set, in Winds of Exchange, I think Brobnar is really good, and does deliver on that vision of making a lot of amber while fighting and having a big board presence. It's really what Brobnar should feel like. It's awesome. So that's what you should expect. Um, now, the the other things I like to cover here are, let's see, what other house would you like to see? If I see that a deck has Brobnar, this is tough. I'm probably looking for. I'm most hoping that it has Unfathomable, because Unfathomable. Oh, Brobnar, I should say, can also do some Amber control. Um, but Unfathomable adds in some player control, and so from the perspective of kind of getting a deck that I know I'll be able to get my mind around and figure out what it's trying to do, I get really excited about having the fish with the giants. Um, Thematically, I'm not sure that works, but I think that is makes for a pretty good deck composition. Um, for the uh, my favorite combo, I think I'm gonna have to go for. Um, it's kind of low hanging fruit, but Berserker with Harmolatoon is just so good. And so if you don't know what this is, in Winds of Exchange, I guess I should start by saying in Winds of Exchange, there's a mechanism called tokens, where if you make a token, you take the top card of your deck, and it enters play as a token creature. And what exactly that creature is determined by the token that's assigned to your deck at deck generation time. So you can have a pretty drastically different experience based on what your token is. And Berserker is a token that enters play ready and enraged, and after it fights, it destroys itself. Harmolatoon, we'll see later, but he's a creature who gives every other Brobnar creature on the board destroyed, return this creature to your hand. So it effectively means that you can bring, when you make tokens, they come in ready, they can fight, and then that card comes back to your hand afterwards. So it ends up being quite powerful. Um, what card would I want to legacy in from a previous set? I think. Hmm. If I could pick any card to backport from a previous set into Winds of Exchange, um, I'm really a Relentless Assault fan. I think I probably want Relentless Assault, although really I think the Winds of Exchange Brobnar card pool is amazing. And if I could have a Maverick, what would I want? I think that I haven't thought this through completely. Oh, Legacy. I would also love a Pile of Skulls. Um, okay, so but Maverick, what would I want? Um, that's really a tough one, honestly. Uh, well, it'd be interesting to see trying to remember the guy's name, but the Mars creature Zizok, in Brobnar with like a brick nasty, because you can get so many fights out of him. There could be a potential for some cool synergy there. I think that's probably not the best Maverick you could get, but it seems cool. So there you go. Okay, I think that. And I guess we can say best token, although there aren't that many tokens. Um, I think the obvious answer to best token for Brobnar is Berserker, and I hear a lot of people who also really like Warrior. I actually tend to be a fan of Grumpus. I really like Grumpus. So Grumpus is the 2 power with splash, with 1 splash, and I just think he's a delightful little creature. So it's helped, I think, that a lot of the decks I've really enjoyed have had Grumpus, and I don't know that was Grumpus's fault necessarily, but I've really enjoyed it. Okay, uh, that said, let's get into the cards now. Again, we'll start with the rares and then move toward the commons. Ancient Battleground is an artifact and location, and it gives each friendly creature. It says each friendly creature cannot reap and gains after fight gain 1. So yeah, that factors into that Brobnar ability to generate amber by fighting. I think this is great. It's a little weird that it affects your non-Brobnar creatures too, but I really like it. I have not found a deck where this like works great, um, or where this is featured in like an awesome deck. But I like the idea of it, and maybe I'll find one or realize that I have one that I just haven't tapped into yet. But I think it's a really fun card. Okay, autocannon has been around forever. It's an artifact with an amber. It's a weapon, and it says after a creature enters play, you deal 1 damage to it. This is amazing for inset play because of 1 power tokens, and some of the 1 power tokens are quite good. So Scholar is an example of that. And if you have autocannon, it just completely wrecks Scholar. So I like it for that. Um, yeah, and even against a prospector, um, I think good prospector builds they want to spam a lot of prospectors and then do like a mass buyout or something to draw a lot of cards. If they're drawing like 1 to 2 cards every turn off the prospectors, it dilutes the benefit. Okay, Banner of Battle is an artifact, an item. It's also pretty old. I think this is from Coda, and it says each friendly creature gets +1 power. That can be really interesting. It can have a really interesting impact on games sometimes. Barehanded is an action with an amber that puts each artifact on its owner's deck. This one does not specify anything about the order, so that means the active player would get to choose the order. Okay, Bilgum Avalanche is a 5-power giant that says after you forge a key, you deal 2 damage to each enemy creature. Yeah, that's a really nice effect. It doesn't. I find it doesn't often matter a ton, but it's kind of a cool threat to have there. I've always loved Champions Challenge. This I have in one of my favorite Coda decks. Is an action that says play destroy each enemy creature except the most powerful enemy creature, and you destroy each friendly creature except the most powerful friendly creature. So you're left with the most powerful on each side, and then you ready and fight with your remaining creature. What's interesting about this, there's nothing. It doesn't. When it was made, wards didn't exist, and I think it's a little weird in a ward world because obviously you could end up in a situation where not there's not just 1 creature left on each side, but then you would still fight with your most powerful creature, and it's still a great card. Okay, Endless Horrors. This is a fun one that is really built around tokens, so I don't expect it to ever be reprinted unless they come out with another token-based set. So Endless Hordes is an action that says play for each enemy creature, make a token creature, ready it, and have it fight that enemy creature, ignoring taunt. Resolve these fights one at a time. And this is just a really fun. It's a fun card because if your opponent has any real number of creatures, you get to make a lot of tokens. Very cool. You can hit rule of 6 on them, and I do think this works best when you have Brobnar tokens because they want to fight compared to, for example, if you have a Scholar that wants to reap and is 1 power, this is not going to be much good. All right, Frost Giant is a new 18-power creature, new to WoW, and it doesn't ready during your ready card step. It does bring in ready and fight effects into your deck. So if you get a Frost Giant, then there's a minimum number of ready and fight effects that will get added into your deck, which is kind of cool. And it will often pull legacies. It can also pull Mavericks. So that's just a really cool effect. It's a cool like deck packeting mechanism. Okay, Guji Dinosaur Hunter is a 4-power hunter and giant with elusive that first came out in Worlds Collide. When you action it, you deal 2 damage to a creature, but 6 instead if it's a dinosaur creature or has amber on it. It's okay. It's really not great. Okay, Hallowfest. Wow, we kind of need to come back to explain this one, but Hallfest is really interesting. It's an action that has you search your deck and discard pile for up to 4 Brocken cards. Brocken is a trait that kind of represents this Brobnar band, and they're really good cards. So you search your deck and discard pile for up to 4 Brocken cards with different names. Reveal those cards and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck. Gain chains equal to the number of cards put into your hands this way. And if you get Hallfest, you are guaranteed to get, I believe, the whole band, at least one copy of each Brocken card in the set. And it's quite powerful. Maybe we set that aside and come back to it. All right, here's one of the Brocken cards. So he's a rare. Harmal Attune is a 5-power giant Brocken that says each other friendly Brobnar creature gains destroyed. Return this creature to its owner's hand. And yeah, it's a really strong ability because you want to be fighting with the Brobnar creatures. One of the detriments to tokenization is that it adds this randomness to your deck that if you make 12 tokens over the course of playing your deck one time, that means that's a third of your deck that you're not going to get to play, and so you're never going to hold in your hand. So Harmal Attune giving you this kind of backstop of, but some of these you can actually pull back to your hand if you have a Brobnar token is really strong. And with some of the other Brobnar creatures that are quite strong, being able to put them back in your hand and then just immediately replay them is also very good. We'll set him aside and come back to that when we talk about the band. Iron Obelisk is an artifact. It's a location, and it makes your opponent's keys cost +1 for each friendly damaged Brobnar creature. Very nice, and that's an old card. Kretchy is new in this set. It's a 3-power goblin that says each time a player exalts a creature or a creature captures amber, put 1 amber on that creature from the common supply. So basically, anytime an amber goes onto a creature, for the 2 reasons it could, add another one. That's kind of crazy. It's interesting. I haven't seen any case where this was like the thing that made a deck work. But it's an interesting card. And in some matchups it could be, a real game changer. All right, Lava Ball, also I think Coda originally, is an action that says play, deal 4 damage to a creature with 2 splash. Very nice. Looter Goblin, also very old, 2-power goblin with elusive, and after it reaps, for the remainder of the turn, you gain 1 amber after an enemy creature is destroyed. That's a really nice effect. Although I will say, in this set where you have some other good options for Brobnar amber generation, this feels not very important. Not that it's never good. It's just compared to some of the other stuff, not great. Whereas in other sets, Looter Goblin was really nice because it's like, okay, this could make the Brobnar work. But now it's kind of like, well, there are better options that I could have gotten. Nearbor Flamewing is an interesting one, and also bound to tokens existing. So probably won't come back, but I like the idea, and I wonder if they'll rework it in a future non-token set. So Nearbar Flamewing is a 4-power Phoenix that says at the start of your turn, if it's in your discard pile, you may destroy a friendly creature, and if you do, put the Flamewing into play ready. When it's destroyed, you make a token creature. And there were it's possible in some cases to get 2 of these in a deck, and due to I think it's a one of, but you can get a Maverick, or maybe I'm just thinking of Alliance. Certainly in Alliance, it's possible to get 2 of these, and then it's possible to actually just bounce them and tokenize your entire deck, which is kind of crazy. But that's pretty rare. Okay, Pingle Who Annoys is a 2-power goblin with elusive who has, after an enemy creature enters play, deal 1 damage to it. So it's a creature version of autocannon that only affects your opponent, which is pretty cool. Revna Starsong is the rare token bound card in Brobnar. So every house in Winds of Exchange has 3 common tokens and then 1 rare card that if you get it, uh, causes your deck to get a token that's associated with it. Um, so Revna Starsong causes causes you to get Berserker as your token. So she's a 7-power giant that says each friendly Berserker loses all after fight effects. Um, that's that's really nice. So it'll make more sense if we talk about Berserker. So Berserker, well, I mentioned before, so I won't explain again. But yeah, so she makes it so the Berserker can stay alive even after it fights. And I'll just say one thing: we haven't seen it much yet, but we'll see more of it. There's a lot of 7-power stuff in this set. I would say the average, it feels to me, I haven't done the math, but it feels to me like the average Brobnar strength in this set is higher than in previous sets. Which, creatures are, if you depend on your creatures being 7-power and not 6-power or 5-power to win the game, then probably you're not playing Keyforge. But it's nice. It's really nice, and I feel like yeah, they always should have been this beefy. Okay, Signal Fire was originally in Worlds Collide, I think. It's an artifact with an amber, it's an item, and it has an Omni ability where you destroy it and then you can fight with your Brobnar creatures on another house's turn. The Floor is Lava is an artifact with an amber, it's a location, and at the start of your turn you deal 1 damage to a friendly creature and 1 damage to an enemy creature. Blood of Titans is an upgrade with an amber that gives a creature +5 power. Yeah, that's either Coda or AoA. Brawl In. Did we get into? Oh yeah, with Blood of Titans, we're into uncommon territory now. And Brawl In is also an uncommon. It's an action that makes 2 token creatures and then enrages them. This is really only good if you have like Berserker. Broken Axe Outpost. Okay, I love the outposts, and I hope they'll bring a lot of them back. The only outpost that I'm aware of that has anything to do with tokens is the Mars one. So every house in Winds of Exchange has an outpost artifact that is a location. I think they all have an amber pip on them. No, that's not true. They don't. They don't all. Most of them do. But they'll have an action, put a friendly creature on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do X, and X is different for each house. So for the Broken Axe Outpost, which is the Brobnar one, the if you do says if you do deal 6 damage to an enemy creature. It's good. It's not the best one, but with tokens, it's very nice to be able to tuck something under the bottom of the deck. But it also can just be nice, to recycle a play effect, or you can you can start to stack what you'll draw at the bottom of your deck, which can be cool. All right, here's another of those 7-power creatures. Crim Torchtooth is a giant with Splash Attack 4. That's insane. So Splash Attack is a new thing in the set. It's essentially the same as before, the old before fight deal damage to neighbors effects, but it happens simultaneously with fight damage, which actually means it's affected by elusive. And anyway, and it's simpler to explain, or it's shorter to write. Certainly on a rare anyway. So yeah, Splash Attack 4, very cool. Yeah, and he's a big boy. There's Earthshaker, back from Coda, 7-power giant. When you play him, you destroy each creature with power 3 or lower. Very nice. Again, 7 power. Feats of Strength is an action with an amber. When you play it for the remainder of the turn, each time an enemy creature is destroyed in a fight, make a token creature. Yep, that's pretty nice. Yeah, this can be a really nice way to generate tokens. Obviously, works well. Actually, this you don't have to have a Brobnar token to have it make sense. It can be nice because that probably means you're getting more fights in, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, flamethrowers back from, I think, Worlds Collide. Maybe AOA, don't quote me. It's an artifact and weapon. When you action it, you deal 1 damage to a creature with 1 splash. Gedhammer is another member of the band. He's a 5-powered giant Brocken. He has destroyed, ready, and enrage each other friendly Brobnar creature. So if you have both these out, you you can fight with your Brobnar creatures, return them to your hand, fight with Gedhammer, destroy all your other Brobnar creatures, or not destroy, ready and enrage all your other Brobnar creatures, and then return Gedhammer to your hand, play him back out, and then fight again, and then play your other creatures back out. It's crazy. It's a crazy combo. Whew. Who decided to let that happen? Okay, Hebe the Huge is a 6-powered knight giant. When you play him, you deal 2 damage to each other undamaged creature. Not 7, but still pretty beefy. Overrun, back from Worlds Collide, but more likely to actually work in this set, is an action with an amber. When you play it, if 3 or more enemy creatures have been destroyed this turn, your opponent loses 2. I think it's much better in this set than before. I still don't love it, though. I do really like Shattered Throne, which is an artifact with an amber. It's a location. It says after a creature is used to fight, it captures 1. The only thing you have to be careful of with artifacts like this is that it's very easy to just like forget them and not trigger their effects. But that, it's on both players to remember that. Smith is an action with an amber, oldie but goodie. When you play it, you gain 2 more amber if you control more creatures than your opponent. So it really benefits you for maintaining that board control. All right, the Grand Gourd, token-based, 5-power giant. At the start of your turn, if you control the most powerful creature or a creature tied for the most powerful, make a token creature. Unguarded Camp is an action with an amber. When you play it, for each creature you control in excess of your opponent, a friendly creature captures 1. Each creature cannot capture more than 1 this way. Really quick, just a summary of some of that amber control we've seen so far in Brobnar. We have Unguarded Camp. We also saw Shattered Throne, where you're capturing, Overrun, where they're losing. I think that's really all we've seen so far, but we'll see some more coming up. Last one before I need to switch to the next pack. Vow of Blood is an action with an amber. When you play it, you deal 2 damage to each damaged enemy creature, and it enhances your deck with 2 damage pips. Okay, let me open up this next wrapper, and we'll keep going. All right. Volca is a 5-power giant Brocken who says each friendly Brobnar creature gains splash attack 1. So she also comes in this package. And that's really nice. It enables you to deal with elusive. And if you have like a Grumpus, now suddenly they're actually splash 2, or if you have 2 Volcas, it adds up. It's really nice. Berserker Slam is back from Worlds Collide. I'm so glad they brought it back because it was the best Brobnar card in Worlds Collide, probably. So Berserker Slam is an action with an amber. When you play it, you deal 4 damage to a flank creature, and if the damage destroys the flank creature, then its controller loses an amber. Very nice amber control card. We're in the commons, by the way. That's a common. Then we have Brick Nasty. He's the final member of Brocken here. He's a 5-power giant Brocken. After another friendly Brobnar creature fights, gain 1. It's really important. It's based on brick, not the creature. So even if they are destroyed from the fight, you still get the amber. It's pretty great. Um, and so yeah, so if you get Hallowfest, you get all these, and you can pull them out, and being able to just, let's say you have 4 Brobnar cards in your hand. Let's say one of them is one of these. Pulling out the other 3, getting to play them all. You get 3 chains for it. Hopefully, you played some other Brobnar cards. It's real good. It's real good, and suddenly you have a bunch of cards that kind of need to be dealt with, and you can't. The interesting thing is, Brick Nasty is a really dangerous card to leave out because your opponent can burst pretty hard. But you kind of have to kill Harmolatoon first. So you have to go for Harmolatoon first, then maybe for the brick, probably for the get. It just Volka's uh, the least threatening, but it's just a lot to kill. So it's quite a powerful combo that is baked in if you get that one card. Okay, Bumpsy is a 5-power giant. When you play it, your opponent loses 1 amber. That's very nice. Krog the Clumsy, another 7-power giant with splash attack 2. So I will say, I think I read the whole effect here, but just in case, Crim Torchtooth, definitely better, except he does enrage his neighbors. So after fight, you enrage each of his neighbors. Comparing the two, you can see why Crim gets more damage. Krog is just, he certainly looks clumsy, but yeah, it's interesting. Big bodies there. Then we have Fire Spitter, a 5-power giant with 1 armor. Before it fights, you deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. That's really nice. Fresh Marks, new card in the set, is an action with an amber. When you play it, you destroy a friendly creature, and if you do, you exalt 3 enemy creatures. That's real good. So Coda had Blood Money, where you got to put 2 amber on 1 enemy creature. Fresh Marks, your opponent needs to have 3 creatures out to get the full benefit, and you do destroy one of your creatures. But if so, you've destroyed 1 of your creatures, and you gain 4 amber in the long run, which is real nice. And if you combine it with a card like Harmolatoon, where you get the creature you destroyed back into your hand, it can be pretty crazy. Jarl Sven, another 7-power giant, says after an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Jarl Sven, make a token creature. Yep. Might Club is a mostly worse Gauntlet of Command. So Gauntlet of Command was an artifact in Coda that let you ready and fight with a creature. Might Club readies and enrages a creature. So if you do this to one of your Brobnar creatures on your turn, then effectively you ready and fight with it. But if you do it to a non-Brobnar creature, you don't get to use it like you would with Gauntlet of Command. The one additional upside it has is you can use it to enrage an enemy creature. So it's not like there's no benefit. But generally speaking, I'd probably rather have Gauntlet of Command. Pelf is really nice. I hope they bring Pelf back. Pelf's a 3-power goblin with Skirmish, and after it fights, your opponent loses 1. Pound is an action with an amber. When you play it, you deal 2 damage to a creature with 1 splash. Very nice. That's back from AOA, I think. And then Press Gang is an action. When you play it, you make a token creature, and if an enemy creature was destroyed this turn, you archive Press Gang. Yeah, it's fine. So every house in Winds of Exchange has one of these cards that will make a token creature and then potentially archive itself. And this one does it if an enemy creature was destroyed this turn. Ragnarok Prep is great. It's an action. When you play it, you make a token creature, and then if you control more creatures than your opponent loses 2 amber. So it's kind of like the reverse of Smith, which gives you 2 extra amber. But making your opponent lose 2 is quite nice, and you probably are maintaining board control in Winds of Exchange Brobnar, so very nice. Rant and Rive, super good. It's an action with an amber. When you play it, if your opponent has 8 or more, they lose half their amber, rounding it down. That's real good. It's very good scaling amber control. And if you think about it, there really hasn't been a lot of scaling amber control coming out since Worlds Collide. Um, Worlds Collide still had interdimensional graft in Logos and too much to protect in Shadows. Uh, but there's been less scale like amber control that would work if your opponent is at very high amounts. Rant and Rive is still pretty good. Um, and it gives you an amber to boot, and it doesn't affect you like Effervescent Principle does. So yeah, very nice. Rowdy Scald is a 4-power goblin. Every house in Winds of Exchange has one creature that will just have 3 enhancements on it and no other interesting effects. This is the one for Brobnar, so he's a 4-power goblin with 1 amber and 2 damage enhancements. And I actually really I think these are kind of good summaries of here's what this house likes. Shock Herder is very cool, a 3-power goblin with play, ready, and fight with a neighboring creature, similar to Ganger Chieftain, smaller but has deploy, so you don't have to worry so much about how you arranged your battle line, which is nice. Stratosmack is an action. When you play it, you deal 3 damage to a creature, and if this damage destroys the creature, you make a token creature. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then we're into the tokens now. Here's Berserker. This is the one that comes if you get Revna Star Song, so the rare. 5-power giant who enters play ready and enraged, but after it fights, you destroy it. It's just crazy to spam the board with ready 5-power creatures. Warrior is a 4-power giant who can't reap unless there are no enemy creatures in play. So basically perpetually enraged, but has some survivability at 4 power. Skirmisher is a 2-power goblin with skirmish, makes sense. And last one here, I think, let me just double check. Yeah, this is the last one. Grumpus. I do actually think this is my favorite token in Brobnar. Grumpus is a 2-power beast with splash attack 1, and that's very nice. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you've gotten a chance to play with some Winds of Exchange Brobnar. It's real good and it's real fun. It is what Brobnar wants to be, and so it's one of my favorite things about Winds of Exchange. I think is that it makes Brobnar good, and I like that. So yeah, that was Winds of Exchange Brobnar. Hope you enjoyed. That you got some ideas that you can use when you're playing, whether sitting across from somebody playing sealed or looking through your own decks. And hope that you'll get out there and forge some keys.